Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Israel Etz Ahayem Synagogue here in Montgomery, Alabama. I am Rabbi Scott Kramer. Welcome to those that are both in person and online. Still trying to get a little set up here. Hello, Lisa Shapiro out of Fort Lauderdale. Hope you and your family are doing well. Say hello to Arthur and everyone that's with us online. Just 1 second, still trying to get one thing done. Okay, well, this will get done. We are praying out of Sidor Lev Shalem, which is downloadable as a PDF file from our synagogue's website. Again, I hope everybody is having a nice Shabbat. Hope you're having a nice Thanksgiving. And we will go ahead and get started with the Birchat HaShachar, the blessings of the morning, beginning on page 103. Please rise if you are able. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasech vivina l'vchin ben yom u'ben laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shesani b'tzomo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shesani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shesani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Pokeach Ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Mabi Sharamim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Matir Asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Rokal haaretz ha'lamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shasa likot sarki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Oz Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hanotein layoev koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Uteneinu hayom avchon yom l'chein l'chesed racham b'menecha v'nechoin v'nigmalinu chasadim tovim. Baruch atah Adonai gomer chasadim tovim l'yamo Yisrael. You may be seated. We continue page 112 with Psalm 92. Hayom yom Shabbat Kodesh, she'b'chorim b'veit hamikdash, Mizmor shir l'yom HaShabbat. Od yeduvun b'seva deshenim chanim yu lagid kirsanot suri v'lo avlatabo. Page 120, the bridge psalm, Psalm 30. Mizmor shir chanakat b'bayla David. Shabbat Shalom, Justin. Nice to see you. And I love you, son. הפכת מספדי למוחלי פיתקתי סחי וזיני שמחה למען יזמך כבוד ולא ידום אדוני אלוהי לעולם עודך. We continue page 122. This is the beginning of Psukei Zimra. We have two introductions. This is the introduction to Shacharit, filled with psalms that are supposed to get our souls and our spirits in tune for proper tefillot, for proper prayer. The tune I use was written by Craig Taubman. He is one of the giants in modern Jewish music. He was a member of Agudath Ariel when I lived in Los Angeles, and he always began his one Shabbat morning extravaganza once a month at Agudath Ariel, attended by usually about 700 people. Anyway, this is his tune that I regularly sing. So I hope you enjoy it. It's a little bit different. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch she'amar v'haya olam. Baruch Hu Oseh V'Reshit, Baruch Omer V'Yosef, Baruch Mocher Kayem, Baruch Merachim Al Haaretz, Baruch Merachim Al Habriot, Baruch Mishalem Sachar Tov L'Reav, Baruch Chai La'ad, V'Kayam Lanetzach, Baruch Podeu Matzil, Baruch Shemo, Yai lai la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ho'el v'rachamam hamehu b'fi amo, mishabach umafar b'yoshon chasid v'avadav, Uvishirei David Avdecha Nehalelechon Adonai Eloheinu. Yachid Chelami Melech Mishabach V'dosh Magado Baruch Et Adonai Melech Mehulal Batishbachot. You may be seated. We continue with Ashrei, page 136. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha Hod Yeluchasela. Ashrem shekachalo, Ashrem shenayelaha, Dilele David, Armi Machal Melech, Vavrachashi Machal Elam Va'ed. Podeach et yodecha umaspil kol chayratzon. Tilat Adonai barpi vivareko b'ser shem kachil ilam v'ed vanach ninevarechya mi'atav yad olam. Hallelujah. Page 141. I sing this next tune. Probably it's my favorite tune to Psalm 150. I heard this first in Los Angeles at a Kol HaNeshama of all names concert in Los Angeles when I first was in rabbinical school. From what I understand, it's based on a Sufi chant. Page 141, Psalm 150. Hallelujah, 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 b'kadsho, hallelujah, b'kiyazo, hallelujah, v'gvuotav, hallelujah, karov, gudlo, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 beteka shofar, hallelujah, beneva vechinor, hallelujah, betofu macho, hallelujah, beminim viugav, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 v'tziotz le'shama, hallelujah, v'tziotz le'trua, kolan shama te'aliyah, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kolen shamat aliyah, hallelujah. Kolen shamat aliyah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Lilam, Amen, v'Amen. Baruch Mitzion Shchein Yerushalayim, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Elohim Elohei Yisrael Osed Nifla Levanto. Uvaruch Shem Kvodo Li'olam V'Yimalech Kvodo Et Kol Haaretz. Amen v'Amen. So I got the name of that concert wrong. It wasn't called the Kol Shama concert. It was called the Hallelujah concert. Very different. We continue, page 145. Nishmat kol chai tivarech et shimecha Adonai Eloheinu. At the bottom, page 146. Mid melach mishvelach miaharoch lach oel hagadol gibor v'hanora el elyon kanei shamayim va'aretz nhalelachon shabechacha unforech et shem hakodeshecha leDavid barchi nafshi et Adonai v'chol kiravai et shem hakodesho ha'ebdaz mozecha gadol pechavod shemecha Hagibor lenetzach v'no menorotecha Hamelech hayoshev al kisei ram v'nisa Shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo V'chatuv ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai L'yisharim nava tehila B'fihi yisharim titalau Uvdivrei tzadikim tiparach Uvilshon chasidim tidromam, uvekerev kedoshim תתגדע שוב מגלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל. להודות, להלל, לשבח, לפאר לרמים להדיר, לברך, להלל ולקלס על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות. דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיחך, page 148, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. ברכות והודות מיטב יעלולם ברוך אתה אדוני מלך גדול בתשבחות אל עדות אדון הנפלאות הבוחר בשירי זמרה מלך חי העולמים. There are several times in the service where I like to take a breath. And with each breath, as I get further into a Shabbat service, I let the stress out. And on Shabbat, it always seems to be effective. We now continue with Shacharit, page 149. Please rise for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai Mevorach. Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu melech olam yotzer v'rei choshech oseh shalom u'varei et hakol. Hakol yoduch v'hakol yishabechucha. You may be seated. Page 150. Ein kirchach Adonai Eloheinu b'olam hazeh v'yein zulatach malchein l'chayei ulam haba. Efes b'tachol l'imot HaMashiach v'yein tov melech u'moshienu l'tchiyat hametim. El Adon Akol Amasim Baruch Umvarach Befiko Nishama Gadla V'tuva Malei Olam Dat Udvuna Sova Vimoto Hamid Goel Chayot HaKodesh V'neder B'chavod Al Merkava Sechutu Mishor Lifnei Chiso Chesed V'rachamim Lifnei Chavodo Atovim Miorot Shebar Eloheinu Etzaram Bedat Bevina Uvaskel Korach Ugvura Natan Bohem Liot Moshlim Bekerev Tehivel Maleim Zivam Afikim Nogan Zivam Michol Olam Semechim Betzeitam V'sasim Bavoam Osim B'yemach Etzon Konam Be'er V'chavod Notnim Lishmot Tzala Verina Lezech Malchuto Kara Lashemesh Vayizrach Orcha Vehikin Zuratal V'na Shevach Notnim Lo Kol Tzevam Maron Tiferet Gedula Seraphim V'Ofanim V'Chayot HaKodesh Elai 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 page 152. La ela sheshavat mikol hamasim bayom hashit alei v'shivat kisei chavodo. Tiparach Moshieno Shevach Masedech V'Yomerei Shasiti Yafrau Chasela, page 153. Tiparach Surenu Malkin V'Gole Berekedoshim. וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושת תורה בשיעור זמרה, ועורכים שבחים ומריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שמו אל המלך הגדול והגיבור והנורא קדוש הוא, וכולם מקבלים עליהם מלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונודרים רשות זה לזה, להקדיש לעצם בנחת רוח בשפה ורב ונימה קדושה, כולם כאחד עונים ויאמרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו, ויופנים וחיות הקודש פרש גדול מן הצלם הצרפים, לימתם משבחים ואומרים ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו לאל ברוך נימות ייתנו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר עמי אורו. Page 154. It is traditional for those wearing a talit to gather your seat, your forward seat together, and to hold them in your left hand in preparation for the Shema on the next page. Ahava Rabba Avtanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemla Gedola V'Tera Chamalt Aleinu Avinu Malkeinu Ba'avur Avotenu Shebatchu Vecha Avinu Malkeinu Vatelamdenchu Kechayim Kein Techanenu Blamdeinu Avinu Ha'avarachaman Amrachim Rachim Aleinu V'tein Belibenu Lahavin Lavinu Laskil Lishmoa Lilmod O Lilamed Lishmar Velasot O Kayem Et Kol Divrei Talmud Toratecha B'Yahava V'ha'enenu B'Toratecha V'dabek Libenu B'mitzvotecha V'yached Levavenu Li'ava U'yiret Shemecha V'lo nevosh le'olam voed V'lo nevosh le'olam voed Ki v'shem Kadshecha Hagadol v'hanora b'atachnu Nagila v'nismecha b'shuatecha V'havienu le'shalom me'arba kanfot haaretz v'tolichenu komemiut le'artzenu ki el po yeshuatata uvanu v'charta mikoam v'lashon v'keravtanu l'shimcha gadol seila be'emet להודו לך וליחדך באהבה ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך וקומך, וקשרתם נאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, והיה אם שמוע תשמעו אל מצוותי. Vayomer Adonai Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'yamarta lehem v'yasu lehem tzitzit al kanfei v'gdehem ledoratam v'natnu al tzitzit hakana patil techelet v'haya lachem letzitzit oritem oto uzkartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam ולא תטור אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תסגרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם בארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Ledovedo Kayam Ushmo Kayam V'chisonachon Malchut Tovim Nato Le'ad Kayamet. 157, fourth line from the top of the page. Udvar V'chaim V'kayamim Ne'amanim Nechmadim. Emet shatu Adonai Eloheinu v'levatenu malkeinu melech avotenu goelenu goel avotenu yotzrenu tzur yeshatenu podenu matzilenu milam shemecha ein Elohim zulatecha ezrat avotenu atahu me'olam. Cham v'nisa gadol v'nora mashpil geim umagbi hashfalim motzi asirim foden avim v'yozedalim v'hon eliamo b'yet shavah elav tehilot la'elad yon brachim brach Moshe v'nei Yisrael nishira b'simcha rabbah V'yamechu chulam mi chamocha boilim Adonai mi kamocha nedor b'kodesh nora tehilot o seifele Shir Chadasha Shibechu Geulim Shimcha Sfatayam Yachad Kulam Odu Ve'im Lechu V'yameru Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Voed Tzur Yisrael Kuma B'Ezrat Yisrael Yivtechinu Mecha Yehuda V'Yisrael Go Aleinu Adonai Tzavot Shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch Atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. We rise for the Kedusha, the Shabbat morning Amidah, pages 159 through 166. Please join me as we recite or chant the first three brachot out together. Then you may continue through 166 for the final 4 of 7 brachot. Again, we begin page 159. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Dovim V'Konei Hakol V'zocher chastei avot, u'mevigu elevnei v'neihem l'man shemo b'yahava, melech ozer foked u'mashiach magen. Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham, u'foked Saram, atah gibor li'olam Adonai, mechayem itimato rav l'hoshia, mashiv haruach morid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye metim berachamim rabim. Somech noflim v'rofei cholim, umatir asurim, umakayim emutato, lishenei afar, michamocham bal gevurot, umidom elach, Melech mimit umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman atalach hayot meitim baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hametim nikadesh et shimcha ba'olam Keshem Shema Kedishim Oto Bishmei Ma'om Kakatu Vayad Neviecha Bekara Zel Ze V'yamar Kadosh 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 Adonai Tzavot Melech ha'aretz kevodo Oz beko Rash Gadol V'chazak Mashmim Ko Mitnaseim Leomat Seraphim, Leomata, Baruch Yomeru, Baruch Adonai Bimkomo. Mimkom Chamal Keinu Tofia, Vetimloch Aleinu ki mechakim anachulach matai timloch b'tzion b'karav b'yameinu leolam voed tishkon tikadash b'toch Yerushalayim irecha ledor Dor ulenetzach netzachim ve'einenu tiren malechutecha kadavar hamor b'shirei uzecha ayedei David Mashiach tzidkecha Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Yemloch le'olam Adonai le'olam Elohai Sion l'dor vador Alleluia Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid God lecha, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador, nagid God lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushakta nakdish, kedushakta nakdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu le'yamush le'olam le'olam voed, ledor vador, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך, כי המלך גדול וקדוש 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 אתה, כי המלך גדול וקדוש 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 אתה, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גוד לך, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We will now, if you haven't finished your Amidah, your private meditation, please continue at your own pace. We will now transition to our virtual Torah service, page 168. You may rise after the ark is open. One second, doing some housekeeping. Page 168. Ein kamocha va'elohim Adonai v'ein kemahasecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai imloch le'olam voed Adonai oz li'amo yitain Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom av harachamim heitiv avirtzoncha et Zion tivnech omod Yerushalayim Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Ki becha levad batachnu melech erham v'nisa Adon Olamim. Please rise. Vayehi ben Aaron vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai v'yafutzu oyevecha v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha ki mitzion tetzei Torah ki mitzion tetzei Torah udavar Adonai Mirushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Liamo Yisrael B'kedusha to page 170 Barich Shemei Damari Alma Barich Yitrach Yatrach Yeheru Tach Im Imach Yisrael Alam Kunam of the Kudusha Barichu. Bebe anarachet velishme kadisha yakira anna emartu shpechan beyanarachet velishme kadisha yakira Anna emartu shpechan yahirava kadamach tetiftach libi biohayata v'tashlim mishalim delibi v'libo decholamach Yisrael letavul chayim v'lishlam Amen. Page 171. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadol Adonai, Ramema Shemo Yachtav, Lecha Adonai Agedula, V'hagevura, V'hatiferet, V'hanetzach, V'hahod, Kicho b'shamayim uvaretz, Kicho b'shamayim uvaretz, Lecho Adonai hamamlacha, V'yamit na'aseh Lecho l'rosh Ramemu, Adonai Eloheinu, V'hishtachavu, Lahadam raglav kadoshu, Ramemu, Adonai Eloheinu, V'hishtachavu, Lahar kadsho, Ki kadosh, Adonai Eloheinu. You may be seated. The Torah portion for this week is called Toldot, which literally means the generations or the story of the progeny of so-and-so. This comes from Genesis chapter 25, verse 19. I know I've probably mentioned this before, and you might find it curious why a different portion would begin on anything but a chapter and the first verse of that chapter, right? And this begins on the 19th chapter of 19th verse of chapter 25. And the easy explanation for that is originally the Torah did not have chapter numbers. The portions didn't occur anywhere but where they needed to occur. And it wasn't in the rabbinic mind or the Masoretic mind that these were the beginning of beginning, middle, whatever of a chapter, because there really were no chapters. Chapters first appeared in Tanakh in the Middle Ages to facilitate disputations. Disputations were events that were always meant to put down the Jews and to force them to debate the Old Testament and New Testament, or the Jewish Bible and the Christian Bible. And in order for these arguments to take place, people had to know how to refer to a particular part of the Jewish Bible. And in the rabbinic mind, you just said 4 or 5 words, and because they memorized the whole thing, they knew exactly where it was. And if I said Bereshit bara Elohim, I don't need to know Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. I know where the words are. It's the beginning of the Torah. So who created these chapters was actually a Christian monk. I believe his name is known, and I don't remember right now. But it was divided up by this particular monk according to the chapters and verses that, from his tradition, he saw these dividing up. These chapters and verses became normative, and they crept into the printed Bible when that started appearing after the printing press was created or invented by Gutenberg. Is that 17th century? I don't remember. So when we started having printed Bibles, the Masoretic text included these new chapter numbers and verses. That's a long way of saying why these beginning of these portions begin on an odd chapter, an odd verse. Okay, Genesis chapter 25, verse 19. You can all wake up now. ואלה תולדות יצחק בן אברהם, אברהם הוליד את יצחק, ויהי יצחק בן 40 שנה, לקחתו את רבקה, בת פתואל הארמי, מפדן ארם אחות, לבן הארמי לו לאישה. ויתר יצחק לאדוני לנוכח אשתו, כי יקרה היא, ויתר לו אדוני, ותר רבקה אשתו, ויתרוצצו הבנים בקרבה, ותאמר אם כן למה זה אנוכי, ותלך לדרוש את אדוני. And that translates to Ve'ela toldot Yitzchak. This is the story of Isaac, son of Abraham. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took to wife Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Padam Aram, sister of Laban the Aramean. And then it says, Vayetar Yitzchak Ladonai. And Isaac pleaded with the Lord. He prayed to God on behalf of his wife because she was barren. And this is not uncommon with the matriarchs. Sarah herself was barren. She gave birth to Ishmael late. She gave birth to Isaac when she was 90. And here we are with Rebecca, the wife of Isaac, was also barren. And it says that Isaac pleaded on the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren. And the Lord responded to his plea, and his wife Rebecca conceived. So here is a case of a plead to God where the prayer was immediately answered. And then the story moves directly, almost abruptly away from Yitzchak, from Isaac, and when it says, Vayitrotzatsu habanim, okay, but the children struggled, bikirba, in the womb, vayitrotzatsu, and they ran against each other. And she said, if so, why do I exist? Why are my twins fighting each other? She said she pleaded to die at this point. She went to inquire of the Lord. And thus we hear the beginning of the story. Let me read the next aliyah, and we'll go from there. This is Genesis chapter 25, verse 23. Vayomer Adonai la shnei goyim bevitnech ושני לאומים ממאייך יפרדו ולעם מלאום יאמץ ורב יעבוד שעיר וימלאו ימיה ללדת והנה תומים בבטנה ויצא הראשון אדמוני כולו כאדרת שיער ויקראו שמו עשיו ואחרי כן יצא אחיו, וידו אוחזת בעקב עשיו, ויקרא שמו יעקב, ויצחק בן 60 שנה בלדת אותם. She went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord answered her. 2 nations are you in your womb. 2 separate people shall issue from your body. 1 people shall be mightier than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. So this is not the first time. In fact, this is the norm, that when 2 kids are born, not necessarily twins, but when people have 2 children in the Bible, it is the norm rather than the exception that primogeniture is ignored, and that primogeniture is the ancient belief that the firstborn is entitled to all property and title. And after the father is deceased, the oldest will then take over for the father and take care of the family. So the first child is number 1. In the Bible, we almost never see the first child being number 1. We see it in Adam and Eve. They have 3 children. It's the 3rd child that becomes most important. In the case of Abraham, he had Ishmael, but then he had Yitzchak. Yitzchak gets the the right and blessing of the firstborn. And here we have the birth of Esav and Yaakov. Esav is the firstborn, and it says clearly the older shall serve the younger, which means Yaakov will get the right of the firstborn. And we see how that happens by guile and deceit. Aliyah, we'll do one more Aliyah. Genesis chapter 25, verse 27. ויגדלו הנערים ויעשו איש יודע צעיד איש שדה ויעקב איש תם יושב אוהלים ויאהב יצחק את עשיו כי צעיד בפיו ורבקה אוהבת את יעקב ויעזד יעקב נזיד ויבוא עשיו מן השדה והוא עייף ויאמר עשיו אל יעקב, אל יתני נא מן האדם, האדום הזה כי עייף אנוכי, על כן קרא שמו אדום. ויאמר יעקב, מכרח היום את בכורתך לי. ויאמר עשיו, הנה אנוכי הולך למות, ולמה זה לי בכורה? ויאמר יעקב, הישב עלי כיום, וישבע לו, וימכור את בכורתו ליעקב. ויעקב נתן לעשיו לחם ונזיד עדשים, ויאכל וישת ויקום וילך, ויבז עשיו את הבכורה. When the boys grew up, excuse me. Oh, I didn't read enough from the last verse. I do apologize. When her time to give birth was at hand, there were twins in her womb. The first one emerged red like a hairy mantle all over, so they named him Esav. Then his brother emerged, holding on to the heel of Esav, so they named him Yaakov. Yaakov means heel. Then his brother emerged, holding on to the heel of Esav, so they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when they were born. So apparently Rivka was barren for 20 years. When the boys grew, Esav became a skillful hunter. Definitely not a Jewish profession in the modern age. A man of the outdoors, but Jacob was a mild man who stayed in camp. It says that he dwelled, Yoshev Oholim, he dwelled in tents, which meant he studied. The Midrashim, the ancient rabbis, say, what did he study? He studied Torah, even though the Torah wasn't going to be given until Moses went on Mount Sinai. It's presumed by the rabbis that the Torah existed from creation and that all of the generations studied it. Isaac favored Esau because he had a taste, sorry about that. Because he had a taste for game, but Rivka favored Yaakov. Once when Jacob was, okay, so we clearly have a trait that is both paints a negative picture of our patriarchs and matriarchs, and clearly is not something which we should do. and that is favor one child over another. I've been watching or rewatching. No, I've been watching really for the first time. I'm getting to the later seasons. I'm in season 4 right now. And there was a episode where the queen and her husband, Prince Philip, favored a different child. And how this may or may not have affected the other children. Of course, it does affect the other children, especially if you make it known. And here it is that Isaac favors Esav and Rivka favors Yitzchak. Clearly, the parent favors the child that is most unlike them. Yitzchak is a dweller of tents. He studies. He is an introvert. And so he favors Esav, who is an extrovert. He's active. He's a hunter. He's a doer. He doesn't study. And Rivka, as we'll find out, is a doer. She's a schemer and a conniver. She tries to pull the wool over the eyes of her husband. And so she favors Yitzchak, the dweller in tents. So again, I think the parents always favor the opposite. And once when Jacob was cooking a stew, Esav came in from the open, famished. And Esav said to Jacob, "Give me some of that red stuff," adashim, lentils, "to gulp down, for I am famished," which is why he was named Edom. Jacob said, "First sell me your birthright." And Esav said, "I am at the point of death, so of what use is my birthright to me?" But Jacob says, "Swear to me first." So he swore to him, and he sold his birthright to Jacob. Jacob then gave Esau bread and lentil stew. He ate and drank, and he rose and went away. Thus did Esau spurn the birthright. Jacob took an opportunity. He saw his opportunity to acquire the birthright outright for what? A bowl of lentil soup. Esau was at a weak point. Jacob took advantage of him. Doesn't speak well on our third patriarch. Other things in his life do speak in his favor. The stealing of the birthright, not once but twice, from Esau is telling on both Yaakov, Jacob, and his mother, Rivka. I'm going to end the reading at that point. I will now offer a Mishaberach, a blessing for physical, spiritual, emotional healing. I'll read the names on our list, and you may, those online may add names at this point, and I'll read them as soon as I am finished. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sovku Rachavelea Hu Yivarech V'Rapeh Et Helen Byrne, Chana Batzar, Marjorie Allen, Charles Miller, Marsha Arms, Leon Capuano, Virginia Madden, Tana Boulard Rivera, Roberto Rivera, Lynn Schoaf, Brooke Pinelli Sheva, Kay Booley, Jeannie Meisler, Deanna Barber, Jeff Colwell, Margaret Colwell, Benjamin Miriam, Susie Bierman, Ray Labato Jr., Loida Mori, Maddie Raminga, Iris Rivka, Becca Martinez, Mary Savko, Marlon Barnes, Isaac Ben Joseph, Zoe Martinez, Tara Joseph, Nikki Decker, Daniel Ben Chava, Josie Labato, Teresa Labato, Kayloni Marsha Price, Phyllis Carson, Art Sandek, Betty Labato, Malka Amster, Alberta Parker, Amy James Gray, Johnny Sweat, Ernest Rain Russell Jr., Milan Martinez, Terry Raminga, Leon Francisco, Tilly Caldwell, Lisa Shapiro, Catherine Josie, Billy Canary, and Manzor Rana. Gittel Tamar Bat Miriam, David Kelman, Yael Bat Nami, Rivka. Viet Kolchim Bekila, Kedusha, Agudath Israel, Tzachayim Bekila, Tabo Bethor, Kodesh Bruchim Male, Rachamim Alehem, Lachis Ramlapatam Vishlech Lemer, Fushlim, and Ashermite Nefesh Fudaguf, Betoch Shach, Leser, Vakazek, Yedeaskan, Shabbatil, Mizok, or Fahkarov Alavash, Tabagalavizman Kariv, Venomar, Amen. May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing to all of those mentioned and all those who suffer illness within our congregational family and outside. May the Holy One mercifully restore them to health and vigor, granting them physical and spiritual well-being, together with all others who are ill. And although Shabbat is a time to refrain from petitions, we yet hope and pray that healing is at hand. And let us say, and we will continue. We put the virtual Torah back in the ark. Please rise if you are able. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Kinishkav, Shem Olvado, Odo Aleretz, Veshamayim, Vayaren, Keren Leamo, Tila Lecho, Chasidav, Livnei Yisrael, Amkarovo. Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Mizmor LeDavid, Avul Adonai b'nei Elim, Avul Adonai kavod vos, Avul Adonai kavod shemo, Ishtach Avul Adonai behadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim, Ela kavod hirim, Adonai omayim rabim, Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et alzeh halvanon, Vayarkidem kemo egel, Livanon v'siryon kemo ven reimim, Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, Vayechasot Yaharod, Uvechalo Kulo Merkavod, Adonai Lamabul Yashavaye, Shev Adonai Melech Leolam, Adonai Oz Leam Oyiten, Adonai Yevorech et Amo Vashalom. Uvnucho Yomar, page 184. Ki lekach tov natati lochem, Torati al tazovu, Etz Ahayem lamachazikim ba, V'tomcheha meushar deracheha, Darchei Noam v'chol netivoteha, Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh, Chadesh Ameinu, Chadesh Ameinu, Kikkedem. You may be seated. Shalom. The words of this drash were inspired by a colleague, David Greenstein. This really spoke to me, these words really spoke to me this week of Thanksgiving. In last week's Torah portion, we saw that Abraham, in the concluding decades of his life, stepped down from his world significant plane of living to become just another person, living his private life as best he could. The change, freely chosen or imposed by destiny, is not described in the Torah as being stressful or challenging. In contrast, this week's portion brings us into a moment of great and painful stress when one of our protagonists, Esau, is forced to cross the bridge leading from one of those two planes of living to the other. Esau has sold his birthright, but he still expects to receive his father's blessing. However, his brother Jacob and his mother engineer it so that Isaac bestows the blessing upon Jacob instead. Esau enters his father's chamber unaware that Isaac has given the blessing away to Jacob. When he finds out, he utters a gut-wrenching cry, "Bless me also, my father." And Isaac tries to explain that your brother has come in with guile and has taken your blessing. And Esau repeats his request, backed by a shattering question, "Is there but one blessing that you have, my father? Bless me too, my father." And he raised his voice and wept. In this excruciating exchange, we witness a shifting back and forth as both Esau and his father struggle with two different concepts of blessing. Isaac understands his blessing to be a gift that will direct the destiny of the world. There is only one such blessing, and it has been passed on to Jacob. But Esau cannot keep his focus on that kind of blessing. He yearns for another type of blessing, the simple blessing that flows from a parent's love for their child. He asks incredulously, "Do you have only one blessing to give out?" Esau simply wants to hear some words of love from a father who has always loved him so fully. Each child has a right to expect such a loving gift on their own terms. After all, how could Isaac be so withholding? But Isaac feels that he is standing upon a different plane of being. The blessing at stake is not an intimate question of love and support, to be universally shared in all families. The family lives with a great overriding burden to be a world blessing. So he adheres to his understanding even as he finally gives in and blesses Esau by framing the blessing in the terms that God had initially set forth as influencing the rivalry between his two sons, who are to become two nations and cultures. Esau's struggle can be understood to lie in his inability to choose between his desires for those two types of blessings. Sometimes he is ready to give up the world blessing if he can only get his father's love. But he is not able to stay content with that, and he seethes with resentment against his brother. And Esau nursed a hatred for Jacob over the blessing that his father had given him. The verse is ambiguous. Did he hate his brother because of the blessing his brother received from his father? or because of the blessing his father gave to him, to Esau? Did he resent his brother for taking away the world blessing from him, or for taking away from him something else entirely? A chance to get a simple father's blessing. A blessing that could have expressed unconditional love for him as himself. Shabbat Shalom. And we will continue with Musaf, page 185 through page 192. Again, we begin together with the first three brachot, page 185. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Dovim v'Konei Hakol v'Zocher Chastei Avot Umevigo elivnei v'neihem l'man shemo b'yahava melech ozer foked HaMashiach Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ufoked Saram Nata Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayem Eitim Rav L'Hoshia Mashiva Ruach Morid Agashem Mechkalkel Chayim Bechesed Mechaye Meitim Berachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Brofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Micham Mocham Bal Kivorot Umidom Melach Melech Memit Mechaye Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman talachayot meitim Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hametim na'aritzecha v'na'kadishcha kesod siach tzarfei kodesh hamakdishim shimcha b'kodesh kakatu v'yad b'yecha v'kara ze v'yamar Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzavot, Melech haaretz Kivodo, Kivodo, Malei Olam, Misharatav Shoalim, Ze Laze, Aye Mikom, Mikom Kivodo, Leomatam, Baruch Yomeru, Baruch Adonai Mimkomo, Mimkomo, Hu Yifen, Merachamim, V'achonam, Am Yachadim Shemo, Erev v'voker b'chol yom tamid b'mayim b'yava Shema omrim Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Hu Eloheinu Avinu Umalkeinu, Moshienu, Ve'u Yashmienu, Berachamav, Shenit, Li'enei Kochai, Liot Lachem Le'Elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Uvdivrei Kachecha Katuv Lemor Yimloch Adonai Le'Olam, Elohai Yichzion Ledor Vador, Hallelujah. Ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid God lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushakta nakdish, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid God lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushakta nakdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu, mipinu layamush le'olam va'ed, ki omelech gadol, ki omelech gadol, v'kadosh ata, ledor vador, ledor vador, ledor vador nagid God lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim, kedushakta nakdish, Baruch atah Adonai, Oel HaKadosh. Modim anachnu lach. We continue, page 204. Ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, mi Keloheinu, mi Kadonenu, mi Kemalkeinu, mi Chemoshienu, ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, no de leloheinu, no de ladonenu, no de limalkeinu, no de lemoshienu, ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, Atah Eloheinu, Atah Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Moshienu, Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu. We rise for Aleinu as the ark is open. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon, akol latet gedula liotze bereshit, shalo asan kugoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishmachot hadama, shalo sam chilkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim, umodim lefnei melech, malchei hamlachim akadosh baruch hu. Shehunote shamayim v'yosed haaretz, u'moshev yikaro b'shamayim imal, u'shchinatu zo, b'gavei meromim, hu Eloheinu einod, emet malkeinu evesulato, kakatu b'torato, v'yadata hayom v'ashivota, Elevavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim mimal, v'al haaretz mitachat einod al kein deklayim. Ki malchat shechi Ulamea timloch bechavod, kakakatu b'toratecha, Adonai memloch li'olam voed, v'ne'emar v'ay Adonai l'melech al koretz, bayom ha'u yiyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. And be seated. I think I fooled all of you. I used a different ending for Elaine. Okay. This week, excuse me 1 second. At the right page. There we go. This week we will observe yard sites for David Capeluto, Phyllis Franco, Molly Hirschman, Hilliard Aronow, William Lubell, Michael Isaac Israel, Solomon N. Varon, Dr. Irving London, Dor Bell, Bernice Klein, Meyer Rich, Eve Back, Rachel Hilda Berg, Sarah Rosenberg Cohen, Eugene Feldman, Conrad Albert, and Ray Worth. Those observing yard site and those who mourn, please rise and join me for the Kaddish Tome, page 207. The Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash meraba v'yoma divra chirutei v'yamlech malchutei v'chayechon v'yimechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agalav v'zman kariv v'yimaru amen yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam momel maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudisha b'richu Eilamin kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran b'yoma v'yimaru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Oseh shalom b'mermav uyaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Shabbat shalom to all of you. Even though we don't have anybody here in person, I feel the presence of each and every one of you online. I can see that we have a double-sized minyan, and it feels really good. So thank you all for continuing to support our synagogue, Agudath Etz Ahayem, supporting me, and I just appreciate each and every one of you that I see names of online. I know a lot of you remain anonymous, but I still feel all of your presence. We will join again tonight at 7 p.m. via Zoom to have a musical end of Shabbat with Havdalah. Again, this is via Zoom. It's being brought to you by the Alabama Community Virtual Havdalah. Doesn't mean all the participants are from Alabama. In fact, we have a lot from all over the country. We have at least one international participant, and we have a lot of different states represented, I am proud to say. So if you personally know of, if you already come to our our Havdalah service, please continue to do so. If you have someone you know that doesn't belong to a congregation or is estranged, or for whatever reason you think would benefit by attendance at our Havdalah, that the music may move them, please email me or have them email me, or however you want to do that, and I will make sure to get them on our list. Monday and Thursday, we will have our morning minyan, 7:15 a.m. with breakfast following. Jerome is back from vacation, so we will have a made-to-order breakfast on Monday and Thursday. I have to tell you, on Thanksgiving, Gerald, I, and Matthew went to Waffle House. I know, weird place, right? Because we didn't have breakfast here. It was Thanksgiving morning, and we had a great time. I like sometimes when we have these holiday services where we don't have Jerome here, and then we can do that. It was really, really a lot of fun. And with that, I hope some of you will consider joining me in person for next Shabbat or whenever. Please continue to come online if you are outside of the driving area of Montgomery. And those that are within, please just consider joining me in person. We will conclude our service, page 211. Adon olam asher malach b'terem ko yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso ko azay melech shemo nikra Adon olam v'yachare kichlot tako levado yimloch nara Adon olam v'hu aya v'hu oveh v'hu yeh b'tifara Adon olam asher malach b'terem ko yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso ko azay melech shemo nikra Adon olam v'hu echad v'yein sheni laham shelo lahachbira Adon olam b'li reshit b'li tachlit v'lo ha'ozra misra Adon olam asher malach b'terem ko yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso ko azay melech shemo nikra Adon olam v'hu eli v'chai goali v'tzorchev li b'yetzara Adon olam v'hu nisi umanos li minat kosi b'yom mikra Adon olam asher malach b'terem ko yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso ko azay melech shemo nikra Adon olam biyado afkid ruchi b'yetishan v'yaira Adon olam v'maruchi geviyati Adon oli v'lo ira Adon olam asher malach B'terem kol yitzir nivra liet nasa v'chefso kol azay melech shemo nikra adon olam. Have a wonderful rest of Shabbat. See you tonight at 7 for Havdalah.